Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Alex of Decoding Astrology, and this is my video for the new moon in Pisces coming in on March 10th, 2024, which is this Sunday. However, as you can see, this new moon comes in around 1 in the morning, so we definitely want to consider that we'll be feeling these energies potentially even more on Saturday, the day before, because this one happens in the middle of the night. Please do adjust for your current location on the planet, as that time and date may change slightly for you. Very interesting new moon energies and very interesting week we are in. I'm filming this on March 6th, a few days before, which we're going to talk about. Before I dive in, this actually does involve this new moon in Pisces. My Sigils class that I taught on Sunday night is now available for purchase on my website, coyotestarrastrology.com. I will put the link in the description box. This class is a bit different than anything else I've ever taught before. We went more into occult fundamentals and hermetic alchemy. I'm teaching the material of Paul Foster Case around the sigils. It's a very interesting class. It's a deep activation, and towards the end, I went more into my own philosophy around intention setting in lunar cycles, and we use this new moon in Pisces as an example. So, yeah, and I go into the tarot and how to utilize the tarot with the lunar cycles as well. Really cool course. If you're interested, check it out in the courses section of my website, coyotestarrastrology.com. So let's talk about what we're all feeling at the moment, because this week, whew, oh my God, you guys, it has probably rattled a lot of you out there. If you are one of the few individuals that are just coasting along right now and have not felt these squares to Uranus, consider yourself lucky, because trust that there are a lot of people out there that are experiencing a little bit of an earthquake in their life. Let's go to the current chart here. So we actually talked about this a little bit in my last video. I've been talking about it a little bit on Instagram here and there, but let's go into this. So what we've been feeling, these two little ones, Venus and Mars, they look quite innocent, but they have they have been creating some waves, because in their transit together, they've been walking along through the degrees of Aquarius, and last week and last time we talked on this channel, they were making squares to Jupiter, which has a magnifying effect, which can be interesting, but is generally positive because Jupiter is a benefic. However, now the two, over the last few days and currently as I film this, now the two are making squares to Uranus. Now, this is a different story. Uranus is typically thought to be a malefic, and we're going to talk about that. But the first thing I want to point out is that Venus and Mars are transiting in Aquarius, and Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. And they are making square to their ruler, the planet Uranus. So what this basically amounts to is a lot of Uranian energy, or an abundance of Aquarian energy, but because of the square, which is a 90-degree angle suggesting tension, this stimulates and aggravates the more disruptive side of Aquarius rather than the positive side of Aquarius. It doesn't mean we don't experience positive Aquarius attributes during a transit like this, and I will certainly go over that. But because of the square, there is a disruptive intensity to this. So, you know, when you're on an airplane and you hear that little audible ding and the fasten your seatbelts sign comes on and the pilot comes on, you can usually never hear what the hell he's saying, but usually he says something to the effect of, like, please stay in your seats, fasten your seatbelts, because we've got some unexpected turbulence. That's sort of like what this is like. As soon as these two started to come within about a 5-degree orb of these guys up here, it was like, oh God, here we go. Things are probably not going to go as we thought they were in some way, shape, or form. And we started to encounter these little bumps and fluctuations. And for some people, this can be really chaotic depending on how this is hitting their life. So let's talk a little bit about the malefic side of Uranus. And there's something very interesting about this, and we actually do cover this a bit in my Sigils course when we break down the sigil of Uranus, which is a very interesting sigil. The malefic, it's interesting because in a vacuum, on his own, I don't think that Uranus is really a malefic. Uranus is higher intelligence. I think of him as an antenna. And he's really something of an extraterrestrial. He's not like even from Earth. It's this outer planet that's kind of strange and out there in its orbit. And Uranus connects us like an antenna to information that is outside our normal sphere of understanding. And there's a lot of positives to this. However, Uranus rules the electricity of the body, i.e. Kundalini energy. And this encourages awakening and aha moments and shifts in perspective. But what happens when we get this high voltage surge of realization is sometimes it can kind of like fry our circuitry a little bit. Literally, but also sometimes just emotionally, where it's like we get a surge of information that is so powerful that it's a little bit disruptive to our nervous system, and it interrupts the scheduled programming, to say the least, right? And so imagine, considering we're all so connected to one another, all of us here having this human experience, consider that we're all experiencing that at the same time. And how we all interact with one another, and how our own little micro universes, which are merging and influencing one another. Imagine how those surges of Uranian energy would affect all of our experiences. That's kind of what's going on right now. And it's what will continue to go on, which I will go into more in this video. But all this to say, we are calibrating a lot right now. And I think I said that in my last video, and I'm going to say it again because it's still happening. So you may need more rest right now. And, you know, it's an energy that sort of requires us to stay on our toes. So the malefic energy of Uranus, I feel like it's malefic. And malefic, by the way, is a term used in astrology to describe a planet that is sort of considered like a bad guy, or kind of like a little bit of a villain. And it's like, no matter how well aspected the planet is, there's always like a slight flavor about that planet that the human being finds a little bit difficult to handle. Saturn is one, Pluto is one, and Uranus is considered one. But the reason I'm explaining it is that I feel like Uranus is really only a malefic for human beings. On his own, I don't really think he's a malefic. I think he's kind of extreme. He's like an antenna to the Godhead and like extraterrestrial intergalactic downloads, which on its own is not bad, but it's a lot for a human to handle. Human beings seemingly only use a percentage of their brain for good reason. And Uranus is kind of like getting your fingers stuck in a light socket and getting a power surge that is so intense that it kind of dysregulates the system for a little bit. Now, let's talk about the positive of this, though. Uranian energies and Aquarius energies bring with them what is termed kind of like the bolts from the blue, or aha moments, sudden realizations and perspective, shocks and awe. I can't remember if I just said that, but yeah, it's like, you know, when you come, you know, when you hear a bit of information and you literally go, that sound is actually the presence of Uranus. It's a jolt. And this can be a good jolt where you look on the ground and you see $100 bill and you feel that jolt of surprise. Or it can be a bad jolt where you hear news that you weren't expecting that is bad news, right? But either way, suddenly the timeline shifts. Suddenly the timeline is different based on that realization. This can be very powerful when we are having realizations around ourselves, our relationships, our situation that we could have never seen coming and that we haven't seen before. Uranus energy, Aquarius energy gives us objective perspective, which is its own very special type of wisdom. When we are only subjective, we can really fail to see so many things because we can't see outside of our scheduled programming and our little personal reality. But when we get objective, suddenly we can see so much more. So, all stressors aside, this can be a time and a week where many of us, I would venture to say many of you this week, have realized something that you didn't see before or that you didn't know before. And how incredible is that? And if that has happened to you, know that this has been some kind of divine revealing, because Uranus connects us to higher intelligence. Uranus knows and sees things that us mere mortals here cannot see. And it's like he's given us the gift of realization. How wonderful. But you may need some time to calibrate. And simultaneously, there may have been many of you out there who had something happen or who are in the midst of discovering something as you watch this video, because let's look, this alignment will actually be exact when Friday, March 8th. So I'm recording this on Wednesday. We're very much in Mars square Uranus energies for the next 3-4 days from Wednesday on. There's many of you out there that may have something shift dramatically in the next few days. Again, it's unlikely to be something you were expecting at all. Or a realization occur. So, kind of turbulent times. Give yourself a lot of grace. Let's get through this Mars-Uranus square, shall we? I'm not going to lie to you guys. You know I don't sugarcoat anything. I'm not into fear-mongering. I'm not into using astrology as some way to invoke fear in myself or anyone else. But of all the transits that do kind of strike a little bit of anxiety in my system, Mars square Uranus is one of the only ones, because of the unpredictability of it, because I know that there's really no way that I can prepare for that energy. It's like with other ones, you can use caution, you can slow down, you can do it, but I know that Uranus is going to bring whatever it's going to bring, and it's going to surprise me no matter what. So there is like this little bit of like walking on eggshells thing around Mars square Uranus. I'm not going to lie. You know, we're in those energies right now. They're almost over as far as the Mars Venus square is concerned, but they're happening right now. So, moving towards the weekend, we come into the new moon in Pisces, which honestly, like, the aspects are really nice for. So I'm kind of looking forward to it because it almost feels like it may soften those energies a little bit, as technically Mars will now be at 20 on the new moon on Saturday. And technically that has passed the square to Uranus. It's still happening, but typically it's the lead up and the exact hit more than the dissipation that we feel the most. Anyways, so new moon in Pisces, let's take a look here. It's actually a very cohesive, very clean chart. Drives its point home pretty well. Again, this is what we cover and use as a baseline and a formula when I teach you how to set intentions with lunar cycles and using the tarot in the Sigils course. We have a new moon in Pisces, so we know this is a new cycle. It's in Pisces. The ruler of Pisces is Neptune. Neptune is right here standing close by to the new moon. It's always very interesting when you have a new moon with its ruler. That makes for this extra potent new cycle. Neptune energies. Neptune Pisces energies. So this is an ethereal, spiritual, magical, mystical new cycle where you may feel prompted to start a new chapter around something Piscean or Neptunian in your life. The new moon and its ruler are sextile Uranus. We just talked about Uranus, but hey, a sextile is a positive aspect. So we are looking at the more positive qualities of Uranus here, thank God, which have to do with innovation and spreading our wings in an alternative, experimental new direction. Now, interestingly enough, on the other side of the new moon, we find Saturn, very different from Neptune, but the combination of the two are actually really nice. Neptune is ungrounded and sort of not of this world. It's of the imagination. Saturn is grounded. It's the polarity. It's very much of this world, very logical, very realistic. So to have this new moon in Pisces flanked by Neptune and Saturn, it's like this new moon is taking this walk hand in hand with, you know, Alice in Wonderland over here on the Neptune side and some like government official on the left-hand side. And the energies are blending where you get this like realistic grounding of visions. It's kind of cool, honestly. It's like this new moon is saying, okay, you want those dreams to come true. You have these dreams, you have these visions. How do we practically plan for them in a Saturnian way of abiding by all of the kind of disciplinary actions we need to make those dreams actually come true? And let's do it in an innovative way. Uranus sextile, meaning like do it in a way you've never tried before. Think outside the box. And Jupiter is making a sextile as well. So there's some really nice kind of like expansive, almost like lucky vibration around this. Despite the Mars square Uranus that we just came out of over a very kind of challenging and difficult week that stirred up a lot, this new moon sort of floats in like this mystical kind of God wink of like, hey, you know, there's still magic happening. Lean into your spiritual practice within this new moon in Pisces to help you. The tarot associated with this new moon in Pisces is similarly very positive. It is the 10 of Cups card. And the 10 of Cups is a card that is associated with blessings, contentment, fulfillment, and there's definitely kind of a sense of completion and celebration. This card has been known as the quote, welcome home card, and it can describe resolution of some kind of issue or something holding the possibility of happiness. So it's interesting to see this card with its kind of like conclusory nature seated within a new moon, because a new moon is usually thought of around a new beginning. But what I kind of interpreted it as, and what I really appreciate this energy bringing to this new moon, is that there's kind of this auspicious suggestion that things were seeding into this very mystical new moon chart have a real potential based on the card to lead to some kind of happiness, contentment, or resolution. So let's talk briefly, because we're going to be talking about this a lot, about why the Uranian energies are not exactly over. Mars and Venus will clear their square to Uranus, like we talked about, basically by next week, March 11th onward. We're kind of wiggling free of that. Planets start to drift their way into Pisces, stacking up that Pisces energy even further. However, Jupiter starts to get closer to Uranus, and as of March 20th is officially within 5 degrees. The two will make their exact conjunction in April, especially mid-April, like April 19th to April 20th. This energy is very, very hot, is very concentrated, and very potent. But we're going to start to feel this soon, guys. End of this month, end of March. Jupiter-Uranus is going to magnify Uranian energies. We just talked about Uranus this whole video. So what can we expect? Change. That's the word I'm going to focus on right now. Change. That's what we can expect with a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Change we could have never seen coming. Change that there's no use trying to prepare for, because it's just going to be that Uranian bolt from the blue. And there is going to be surge after surge of change as we get closer to this alignment. So I wanted to mention it because I didn't want it to be like, oh, Mars and Venus are done squaring Uranus, things are going to settle down. Not quite. This is a very Uranian year, particularly the first half. So lots of exciting things on the way, lots of realization on the way. Uranus, let's remember, it is the awakener. So each one of us is going to be having a extended, ongoing Kundalini awakening, essentially now through June, to be honest. So we're going to be talking about it a lot more. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, I'm there at earth_2to_coyote. I do a lot of Instagram updates on daily astrology. And if you are interested in reaching out to me to book a reading, I am available for those as well. I have a description of my readings and what I offer on my website at coyotestarastrology.com. Thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. I hope you all are staying safe and doing well out there. I really appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye for now.